Hey everybody, Debbie Cowan here with Prime Lending and Lori Meaney.
Meaney.
Yay! Hey, today's topic is women in business and how did we get into this business? What were some of the challenges and some of the obstacles that we came through? Because as we've said before, multiple times on our video podcast, Lori and I have a combined time in this business of over, 57 years. So, we started in this business when it was totally male dominated, and it was unusual for women to get into the financial world, and things have evolved a lot, right, Lori, over the years.
It
We've
has.
kind of taken over just a tad.
We're trying. We'll get there.
Yeah. So I don't know about you, but I remember when I started in this business, it was, like I said, mostly male dominated. It was, you were lucky if you weren't just told to be a secretary or a loan assistant or run credit bureaus for the guys. And all of a sudden, we got kind of interested in wanting to do what they did. And my experience back in the day was, I kind of evolved and grew with the company, but I dealt with four men. We used to call them the four-headed monsters. And they were the head of the company. It was a smaller company, but they ruled the roost. They were the gods in the ivory tower, and they slowly brought me in just because I think they had to have a token female, but they finally started bringing me in. I can remember being in meetings with them, every single month, and they would be fist pounding on the tables, and they'd be yelling at each other and screaming, and I was just like, I was just a little young thing where I was very intimidated, and I certainly wasn't the one that was doing the yelling. And I can remember going outside like on a break or something and crying because they would yell at me too. It wasn't just yelling at each other. I can remember one time I said something and they went, "You're scaring me, Debbie. You're really scaring me with that
Did you look
thought."
at them and say, I should be?
No, I was just like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And so, people who know me today, if they had seen me 30 years ago, they would have been like, that can't be the same person. So they helped me become this person that I am today, because we had to be tough back then.
Yeah.
If we wanted to fight for a seat at the table, we had to stand out. We had to kind of push our way through. I don't know if you had the same experience.
Mine was a little different. I think you fought through the industry a little better at the time. But mine was mainly just them wanting to keep their thumb on me. Like I was the LOA or office manager and did absolutely everything down to training the LOs and everything. But they like to keep their thumb on me. I could never evolve into what I should be, even though I did technically probably more than they did.
Well, without being a woman's liber, without going back that far, but at the end of the day, I was like, I want to make the money they're making. I'm working just as hard, and it wasn't about salary back then, because we've always been commission based, right? So in our roles, if we moved into sales, but it was like, I can do that a little better than that person over there. And I found that we brought this different approach, because I can remember my prior male managers. They were hardcore finance managers. You had to do this. You had to make so many calls. It was like a boiler room. It was like, if you can't fit and you can't play with the big dogs, stay on the porch, because we're out there dialing for dollars. And, there were contests. And if you stunk at what you did, they belittled you. They made you feel terrible. So we kind of took what they were doing and thought, well, maybe there's a little bit nicer way to do this.
Right.
And still not saying anything against the guys, because they've evolved too over the years.
They have. They've changed.
Yeah.
I've had some wonderful male, managers.
They had to, get to a point where you're not managing with tight fists, you're managing and leading people. But I think we brought some softness to not just the industry, because when I got into the banking world, it was very professional, very banking. Then when I got into the broker / correspondent and with all the guys that were used car salesmen and just like pounding, making the sale was all that was important. They didn't have the customer. I can remember they used to go outside and fist bump and high five each other for just selling this deal and making all this money on it. And it was very used car salesman, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, that's kind of nasty. And then I would have always been afraid the customer would have come around the corner and caught me doing that. If I would have done that, I'm like, I'm not doing that. But all of a sudden, we just started like getting softer at our approach and remembering that it was all about the customer. It was all about, you know, the business that we were doing and being able to help people. And we kind of, I think we grew on these guys a little bit because they softened up and it became a much nicer industry.
And I think somewhere along the way, like we did learn some things from them, right? We
Yeah.
learned how to pound that pavement and do what was needed.
Yes.
Instead of just sitting there with a smile and grinning and being, please come to me.
Yeah, be
It
the
wasn't
Avon
always like
lady.
that. Right.
Yeah.
We weren't the Avon lady anymore. So
Yeah.
I think even though things were kind of hard for us back then in our views of what we were dealing with, I think it also helped evolve us.
I say to this day, our generation is the first generation that really had two working people in the family, and you know, and we didn't want to be in the back of the bus. We wanted to be in the front of the bus, you know, being as good as the guys.
Right.
But you know, we were kind of that first generation of people that had to go out there and prove ourselves. So we had to fight against the male industry. And I think women in business in general. I mean, I see it not just in our industry, but I see just women across the board, you know, having to take care of their families, having to raise their children, still coming home and cooking dinner. I know you do that, which I just cannot believe it. But I mean, doing all the things that we as moms and women were brought up to think was our job.
Right.
And then on top of that, going out there and working in the work field and being good at it. You know, so not just going in and doing a 9-to-5 job and just saying, okay, I can go home and take care of my kids. We were doing it all.
Yeah.
So we were talking a little earlier before we started the video. I'm like, I'm seeing spots in front of my eyes because I must be stressed out or tired or whatever. But yeah, when you think back about how much we've been able to accomplish as a woman in business with all the other aspects of what our life is and taking care of our families and our kids, I think we've come a long way.
I think so too. It's definitely something that, again, we've evolved. You know, we've evolved into something different than what we were 30, 40 years ago.
Well, you're still cooking dinner every night.
I don't.
Oh, okay.
I don't.
I mean,
that poor man has eaten takeout quite a bit this past week.
Yeah, I mean, when you come in and show me a picture of this great cake you made, I'm just like, I feel so inadequate. I'm like, well, how does she do that? I mean, and you're excited about it. So that's what really throws me off.
I have fun with that stuff.
I know, that must be your relaxation.
It brings me joy.
Yeah, making other people happy through their stomachs.
Exactly.
And I'm like, the furthest thing, I'm like, I walk in the door and if I have to eat cheese and crackers for dinner, I'm happy because I'm not cooking. I'm not putting any effort into that part of my job anymore. I did it with kids. I'm not doing it anymore. So that's my freedom. That's my relaxation of knowing I don't have to do that. But yeah, so yeah, we have definitely come a long way. And like I said, I see it in so many other industries, not just the mortgage industry, but women in general. They're fighting to the top. They're fighting for their place at the table. And, you know, they're working hard. There's so many women, even in Ocala, that, you know, own their own businesses.
Oh, there are some extremely impressive women
I
in
mean,
Marion County.
that make me feel very inadequate too. Just the, you know, the schedules that they put in place for themselves, but and how far they've advanced in their Pacific career. I mean, I admire so many people, and I admire the guys that do it too.
Yeah.
But I still think we're in that, I don't think we've evolved as a unit as much as we have the women having to go to work as we have the men coming home and taking care of the family and taking that piece. I think we still carry that piece as being the main taker care of the family and still working. So, you know, so
I think there's a unique few out there though that the couples, they work together. It's a 50-50 and it's
and it works.
To turn to that.
Well, it's almost had to. I mean, they have no choice. Unfortunately, there's not many people out there that...
I have to say we have extraordinary men. If we did not have the husbands we have, there is no way we would be able to do what we're doing now.
I think that is probably the best statement you could make because in the old days, they used to say behind every great man is a great woman.
Yeah.
It's the other way. I mean, it works both ways now. It's not the other way, but it works both ways. And I used to say when I was a regional that there was no way I could have done that job. I mean, he allowed me to be the shining star in the family.
Right.
And, you know, there was no way I could have done it without him backing me, for sure.
Yeah, I have to say my husband's my powerhouse. There's
Yeah.
no doubt about it.
Patrick is so cool because he'll do anything you ask him to do. You know, my husband's a little grouchy if I ask him, but Patrick just kind of just does it. I mean, and maybe it's because you make him cakes and I don't make all the cakes. Maybe that's
Making biscuits and gravy.
Yeah, maybe that's because you actually
It's a
do
pancake.
nice things for him that he reciprocates. Mine just goes, what do you want? You know, so yeah, so I think that's a good ending for our story, is to give the shout outs to our significant others that have taken care of us and given us the opportunity to be successful and show us support and love and listen to us when we're crying on their shoulders and we're stressed out and
Absolutely.
come home in a bad mood and take it out on them because we can't take it out on anybody else. So kudos to our men.
Woohoo.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us, guys, today on Women in Business and how we got here and how we're still surviving.